In the endless dark of space, the alien council gathered inside their great hall. Their voices shook. Their eyes glowed with fear. The stars outside were calm, but inside the chamber, panic was alive. Something had arrived. Something not from their worlds. Something from a place they called the Deathworld. The council leader raised his hand for silence, but even he could not hide his trembling voice. They are coming. The new species has answered our call. A smaller alien whispered in terror. No, not answered. They did not send diplomats. They did not send words of peace. Another voice joined, sharp and cold. They sent a machine. The council fell silent. Every member turned toward the giant screen above them. On the screen, the image was clear, an approaching warship. It was not like their ships, built for trade and travel. This one looked alive, yet lifeless. It had no bright colors, no symbols of peace. It was only steel, dark and cold. It moved slowly, but with purpose. Its shape was massive, sharp, and cruel. It did not look like a ship. It looked like a beast, built for war. The stars behind it vanished as its body filled the screen. One elder alien spoke in a whisper. We invited them. We asked for contact. And they answer us with this. No one replied. All they could do was watch. The council chamber filled with unease. Aliens who had lived through centuries of wars felt something new. Not just fear. Something deeper. Something primal. The feeling a prey has when a predator walks close. The ship gave no signal. No greeting. No words. Only silence. Another alien slammed the table with his claws. Why silence? Why no voice? No one answered, but all knew the truth. Silence itself was the voice. The humans had chosen it carefully. One alien shook his head slowly. Silence is worse than words. It means they do not need to speak. The ship kept moving forward. Its surface shone like armor, scarred but unbroken. Its edges were sharp, like blades. Its engines burned quietly, steady, like a predator breathing. The council watched every movement. Each second was heavier than the last. Some tried to send messages, soft and polite. No answer. Some tried to scan the ship. Their scanners returned static. The machine allowed nothing. Fear grew. Panic whispered. The youngest counselor finally asked the question none wanted to say aloud. Why would they send this thing? The elder turned to him, his eyes wide with truth. Because they are from a death world. They have no need for mercy. The council chamber trembled as the warship came closer. Its shadow touched their station. Its presence was crushing, like a storm pressing against a fragile wall. One alien tried to calm himself. Perhaps it is only for protection. Perhaps inside, diplomats wait. But another voice cut him off. Look at it. Does that look like protection? No, it is a message. A message written in steel. The screen zoomed closer. The surface of the warship was covered with scars, marks of battles survived. Each scar told a story of violence and survival. The aliens could not look away. They do not come to speak, one counselor whispered. They come to show us what they are. The leader finally rose to his feet. His voice was heavy. They come not with mercy, not with kindness. They come with silence and with power. The chamber shook again. Not from the ship. From their own fear. All the galaxies, all the species, all the worlds, so many had waited for this moment. First contact. A chance to meet the new species. A chance for peace, for unity, for friendship. And yet, what they saw before them was no friend. No envoy. No hope. The ship gave no light of welcome. No signal of peace. Only darkness, silence, and the weight of its presence. One counselor fell back in his chair, his voice broken. This is not a messenger. This is a monster. The council chamber grew colder. Every alien in the hall now understood the same truth. The galaxy had expected a gentle hand. They had expected mercy. But humanity had sent something else. They had sent a beast of steel. They had sent silence instead of words. They had sent fear instead of peace. And so it was written in the Council's heart, a truth that would spread across every star, every world, every mind. The galaxy expected mercy, but humanity sent a monster of steel. The Alien Council did not sleep that night. None of the stars outside gave comfort. Every light in the chamber burned, yet the room still felt cold. They could not forget the image of the steel monster moving across the void. Whispers spread through the council halls. Messages carried across worlds. One question echoed everywhere. Who are these humans? The youngest species in the stars. And yet they had arrived not with peace, but with silence and power. An elder spoke to the council in a low, heavy tone. You do not understand. I have seen their world. I have read the first reports. Every counselor turned toward him. His voice carried the weight of truth. Their home is not like ours. It is not soft. It is not kind. It is a world filled with storms and fire. Mountains shake. Oceans rage. The air itself can kill. The beasts that walk beside them are hunters, killers, predators. They call it Earth. We call it a death world. The younger counselors gasped. Some shook their heads in denial. Impossible. No life could grow strong in such a place. The elder answered with sorrow in his eyes. And yet they did. They not only lived, they thrived. They built cities on the edges of fire. They crossed oceans that could swallow fleets. They fought creatures with claws and teeth greater than any weapon. They conquered their own death world. Silence filled the chamber once more. This silence was not like the human warship silence. This silence was fear. One counselor finally whispered the truth all of them feared. If they survived such a world, what chance do we have against them? The screen flickered again. The human ship grew larger, closer. Still no words. Still no lights of welcome. It moved like a predator who already knew the prey would not escape. Panic began to spread through the other worlds of the Council. On distant colonies, families locked themselves inside shelters. Military fleets moved into defensive positions. Civilian ships tried to hide behind moons and gas giants. The fear spread faster than any weapon. One counselor shouted over the noise. We must act. If we bow to fear now, we are already defeated. Another voice cut in, sharp and bitter. And what will you do? Send our fleets? Fire our weapons? Look at that monster of steel. It has crossed the stars without fear. Do you think it fears ours? The chamber filled with arguing voices. Some demanded surrender before it was too late. Others demanded war before it was too late. Neither side gave peace. While they argued, the ship drew closer. It moved past the outer satellites as if they did not exist. Their defenses scanned it again. And again the scanners failed. The human machine allowed no weakness to be seen. Every failed scan felt like a warning. They want us to know nothing, one counselor said in a shaking voice. Nothing but their power. The leader of the council finally spoke. His words were calm, but his eyes betrayed fear. Perhaps this is their message. Not with words. Not with voices. But with silence. They come not as equals. They come as masters. A chill spread through the chamber. The thought was heavy, unbearable. Yet no one could deny it. The humans had not sent a voice of peace. They had sent a warning. The warship continued its approach. 4 hours, it did not fire. 4 hours, it did not speak. Yet its silence was louder than 1,000 threats. Finally, alarms sounded. Movement was detected. The warship was opening. Every council member rose to their feet. Their bodies stiffened with fear. The screen showed a dark opening spreading along the belly of the steel monster. Something was coming out. For the first time, the ship gave a signal. Not words. Not greetings. Just the sound of heavy metal grinding open, like the roar of an ancient beast. The chamber shook with panic. Some shouted for weapons to be armed. Some shouted to flee. The opening grew wider. Inside, shadows moved. Shapes could be seen. And then the council saw it. Figures stepping out. Not diplomats. Not envoys. Not scientists. They were soldiers. Tall, armored in black steel. Their steps were heavy, sure, unshaken by the fear they caused. They carried no banners of peace. No signs of welcome. Only weapons. The youngest counselor's voice broke as he whispered, "They are not here to talk. They are here to test us." The others watched in silence, hearts frozen. The galaxy had called for first contact. The humans had answered. And what they sent was not mercy. What they sent was soldiers. The council chamber was silent. Every eye fixed on the screen. Every mind frozen with fear. The steel monster had opened its belly, and from the dark interior, shapes were moving. At first, they looked like shadows. Then, step by step, the shadows became men. Soldiers. They marched slowly down a ramp of glowing metal, their boots striking the surface with heavy sound. The sound carried across the transmission, each step like thunder inside the council chamber. The aliens had seen soldiers before. Armies of every species existed across the stars. But these were different. They were tall, taller than most species, wrapped in black armor that reflected no light. Their helmets hid their faces, their eyes glowing faintly behind dark glass. Their weapons were large, heavy, and silent. They did not rush forward. They did not aim. They simply marched in silence, every step filled with calm, cold control. One counselor whispered, his voice thin, "They look like machines." Another replied, "No. They are worse. They are men who have become machines." The soldiers spread out in a formation, standing still, weapons resting but ready. Their bodies were motionless, yet the air around them felt heavy with threat. For long minutes, nothing happened. The soldiers did not speak. The ship did not send signals. The silence grew unbearable. Finally, one soldier moved. He stepped forward. His armor bore more scars than the others. His presence was heavier, colder. He was the leader. The alien council felt his eyes even through the helmet. They felt his attention pressing against them like a weight. One counselor tried to speak through the comm system. His voice cracked. We welcome you, humans. We welcome you to the Galactic Council. We hoped for." The words stopped as the human leader raised his hand. The simple gesture silenced the alien council, as if their own voices betrayed them. The soldier lowered his hand and let the silence stretch longer. Every alien leaned forward, hearts pounding, waiting for the first human words. At last, the human commander spoke. His voice was deep, steady, and cold. "You invited us." The council members froze. The sound of his voice was enough to send fear into their bones. It was not loud. It was not angry. But it carried weight, like the sound of stone grinding against stone. The human paused, then continued. "Now face us." The words echoed in the chamber long after he fell silent. No threat. No promise. Just a command. The counselors stared at one another in horror. What did it mean? Did it mean war? Did it mean judgment? Did it mean a test? One alien cried out, "We did not call for war. We called for peace." The human leader did not answer. His soldiers stood still, waiting like statues of steel. Their silence was worse than any reply. The council leader rose to his feet, his body shaking. We must show strength. If we bow now, they will see us as weak." Another voice shouted back, "If we fight now, we are already dead." Arguments filled the chamber. Panic spread again, each voice louder than the last. But through it all, the humans stood unmoving. Watching. Listening. Judging. The silence became unbearable once more. Every alien heart raced. Every alien mind whispered the same question. What do they want? The human commander finally raised his weapon. Not to fire, not to threaten. Simply to show it. The weapon was black, long, and strange, unlike any the council had ever seen. Its shape was sharp, efficient, made only for killing. He held it across his chest, calm, patient. One alien whispered, "They are waiting, waiting to see who breaks first." The chamber fell into silence again. The humans said nothing more. They did not need to. Their presence was enough. The galaxy had sent invitations for peace. They had expected smiles, handshakes, and words of welcome. Instead, they faced soldiers of steel, silent and unyielding. And with one short sentence, the humans had changed everything. "You invited us. Now face us." The council understood at last. This was not peace. This was a trial. A test of strength. A test of courage. A test that would decide who ruled the stars. The council chamber trembled with noise. Voices overlapped, shouts of fear and anger filling the air. The words of the human commander, "You invited us. Now face us," echoed in every corner, refusing to leave their thoughts. One counselor slammed his hand against the table. "We must resist. If we bow now, if we kneel before them, then the galaxy will forever belong to these Deathworlders." Another voice cut him down. "Resist. Look at them. Look at that ship. Look at those soldiers. They have not even fired a weapon, and already we feel crushed. If we fight, we will die." The arguments grew hotter, louder. Half the chamber demanded surrender. The other half demanded war. No one agreed. And while they fought with words, the humans stood in silence. The black-armored soldiers did not move, did not flinch. Their glowing eyes behind the helmets watched with calm precision. The human leader remained still, weapon across his chest, as if waiting to see which side of the argument would survive. The council leader finally raised his hand. His voice shook, but he forced strength into it. "Enough. Fighting each other gives them victory without battle." The chamber quieted slightly, but fear still burned in every face. The leader turned his gaze to the screen. The steel monster floated outside, massive and patient. Around it, strange shapes moved, small machines, like wings of black insects. Drones. They orbited the warship silently, scanning everything, watching every move the council made. One counselor pointed a trembling finger at the screen. "Do you not see? They have already surrounded us. Those machines can strike us down before we even think to fight." Another counselor whispered, "Then why do they wait? Why have they not attacked already?" That question cut through the noise. It silenced the chamber. Everyone looked again at the humans. Soldiers standing like statues. Drones circling like predators. Weapons ready, yet unfired. Why were they waiting? The answer came like a shadow in their minds. "They are testing us," one alien said softly. "They want to see if we bend, or if we break." The truth was bitter. The humans were not in a hurry. They had crossed the stars. They had survived storms and monsters on their death world. Time meant nothing to them. They could wait forever if they wished. The council leader's voice lowered. "They wish to see who among us has courage, and who has fear." The chamber fell silent again. Each counselor felt the weight of those words. Courage or fear. Stand or kneel. There was no middle ground. The human commander finally moved. He raised his head slowly, and though his helmet hid his face, the council felt his eyes pierce through them all. One alien, desperate for peace, activated the calm his voice was pleading. "Humans, we do not want war. We want peace, alliance, unity. Please, tell us what you ask." The human commander tilted his head slightly. His silence was crueler than any demand. Then, slowly, one of the soldiers behind him raised his weapon. It was not pointed at anyone. Not yet. But the motion alone was enough to freeze the entire chamber. The barrel of the weapon gleamed under the ship's cold lights. It was a weapon none of the council had ever seen before, built for one purpose only: death. Gasps filled the chamber. Some aliens backed away from the screen as if the weapon could pierce through the glass itself. The human soldier stood ready, weapon aimed slightly upward, calm and patient, waiting for a single command. The silence grew heavier. The counselors' hearts beat louder in their ears. One alien whispered, voice trembling, "It begins." But the human commander did not give the order. He did not speak. He simply stood in silence, letting fear spread like fire in dry grass. The council realized the truth. This was not war. Not yet. This was a battle of wills. And already, The humans were winning. The weapon in the soldier's hand stayed raised, but no fire came. The chamber was drowning in silence. Every alien heart pounded like drums, waiting for the sound of destruction. But instead, the ship lit up. The walls of the steel monster came alive with light. A projection filled the council chamber, covering every wall, every surface. The aliens gasped as images spread around them, vast landscapes, oceans, storms, fire. It was Earth. The counselors stared in shock. The first image showed a volcano erupting, fire spilling like rivers across the land. Creatures ran, but some humans stood near the fire, their faces calm, their bodies working together, building, surviving. The next image showed a storm tearing across oceans, waves as tall as mountains. Ships were swallowed whole, yet humans clung to broken wood, to one another, and lived. Then came beasts. Creatures with teeth longer than swords, claws sharp as steel. Humans, small compared to them, fought with fire, with sticks, with nothing but will, and won. The chamber filled with murmurs of disbelief. The elder counselor whispered, This is how they live? This is what shaped them." The projection changed again. Or, humans fighting humans. Cities burning, skies filled with smoke. Weapons that tore mountains apart, flames that darkened the world. Yet even in ruins, humans rose again. They rebuilt. They endured. The youngest counselor shook his head in fear. Their world tried to kill them in every way, and still they survived. The human commander finally lowered his weapon. His voice filled the chamber, steady and cold. "We are forged in pain." The words struck deep into the alien hearts. The projection shifted to show a human hand reaching out of rubble, pulling another to safety. Soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder in ruined cities. Families smiling under skies filled with smoke. "We are tempered in war," the human continued. "We do not break. We do not bow. We endure." The images showed humans climbing mountains, crossing deserts, diving into frozen oceans. Each image spoke the same truth. Earth was a world that hated life, and yet humanity thrived. "We do not come for mercy." The human's voice was iron. "We do not ask for pity. We do not seek peace from those who do not deserve it." The chamber grew colder. Some counselors trembled. Others clenched their jaws in anger. The human commander raised his head, his voice carrying like thunder across the hall. "We come to show strength." The images changed once more. The human warship filled the chamber's vision again, surrounded by the drones, glowing like a predator in the dark. "Strength is the only truth. It is the law of our world. It will be the law of the stars." Gasps spread through the council. Some shouted in denial, others whispered in awe. The truth was clear. The humans had not sent a monster of steel to destroy them. Not yet. They had sent it to deliver a message. A warning. The commander stepped forward, his soldiers still silent behind him. His final words cut through the silence like a blade. "Stand with us, or fall when we march." The projection vanished. The chamber was left in darkness and silence. Every counselor felt the weight of the choice pressing on their shoulders. Stand or fall. For the first time in their history, the galaxy understood what it meant to face a species born of a death world. And for the first time, they feared what their choice would bring. The chamber was heavy with silence after the human ultimatum. "Stand with us, or fall when we march." The words echoed in every mind, like a shadow that would never fade. The counselors looked at each other with wide, fearful eyes. Some trembled, others clenched their fists in rage. The galaxy was divided in that single moment. One counselor rose, voice breaking with fear. "We cannot fight them. You saw their world, their strength. If we resist, we will be destroyed. We must stand with them." Another shouted in anger. "You would kneel before monsters? You would surrender the galaxy to Deathworlders." The arguments grew louder, sharper, more desperate. The fear spread like a storm, tearing apart every alliance in the chamber. On one side, leaders bowed their heads, already swearing loyalty to the humans. Their worlds would bend, hoping for survival. On the other side, proud voices rose, vowing never to kneel, vowing to fight even if it meant death. The council chamber became a battlefield of words. But outside, beyond their walls, the real battlefield was already forming. Across the stars, fleets began to move. Some ships sent signals of surrender, opening their comms to the human warship. Others powered weapons, their commanders shouting for defiance. The galaxy was tearing itself apart, before the humans had even fired a single shot. Inside the chamber, the council leader tried to hold control. His voice was heavy with despair. "They have forced us to choose. We must decide now, before it is too late." The screen showed the steel monster still waiting in silence. The human soldiers stood like statues, unmoving, unshaken. The galaxy screamed and tore itself apart, but the humans did nothing. They only watched. One counselor hissed, "Do you not see? This is their test. They wait for us to break ourselves." And then, the alarm sounded. The council chamber shook. A warning blared across the hall. One of the proud fleets, refusing to surrender, had fired the first shot. On the screen, the image was clear. Beams of energy cut across the void, streaking toward the human ship. Missiles followed, leaving trails of fire behind them. The alien fleet roared forward, their commanders shouting of honor and freedom. The counselors gasped. Some cheered, desperate for hope. Others screamed in fear, knowing what was about to happen. All eyes turned to the steel monster. The beams struck. Explosions flared across its surface. The fire burned brightly in the dark void. The alien fleet unleashed everything they had, every weapon, every missile, every desperate hope. The chamber shook again as if the stars themselves were breaking. And yet, the human ship did not move. The flames cleared. The steel monster remained. Its surface glowed faintly, shields shimmering like an invisible skin. The weapons of the alien fleet had done nothing. Not even a scar. The council chamber fell into silence again. One counselor whispered in disbelief, It did not even flinch." The alien fleet outside panicked. Some ships tried to pull back. Others kept firing, desperate, hopeless. Their weapons lit the void, but the steel monster endured, silent and unshaken. Inside the chamber, the humans still stood still. The commander had not raised his hand. His soldiers had not moved. They watched, calm, as if the storm of fire outside was nothing but rain on stone. The counselors felt the truth in their hearts. The turning point had come. The galaxy had made its choice. And it was too late to take it back. The humans had given them a warning. They had given them a choice. Now, they would give them their answer. The council chamber was silent. Every eye was locked on the screen, every heart frozen with terror. The alien fleet fired again and again, desperate to break the steel monster. Explosions filled the void. Fire lit up the darkness. Beams of light cut across the stars. Missiles tore through space like falling meteors. But when the smoke cleared, the monster remained. Unshaken. Unbroken. The humans had not moved. The ship floated in silence, its shields glowing faintly. The alien fleet's strongest weapons had struck with all their fury, and the result was nothing. One counselor collapsed into his seat, whispering, This is not a ship. This is death itself." Another shouted in despair, "We are doomed. We are all doomed." The human commander raised his hand. For the first time since arriving, his soldiers moved. In perfect silence, they shifted into formation, their weapons ready. The steel monster answered. Lights flickered across its surface, glowing brighter, sharper, like the eyes of a predator finally opening. Drones spread out in perfect patterns, their engines whispering like the wings of 1,000 insects. Then came the sound, the low, deep rumble of weapons charging. The alien fleet panicked. Some ships turned to flee. Others pushed forward, desperate to prove their strength. Their voices filled the comms with screams of courage and fear. And then the humans fired. The first shot was silent, a beam of light so bright it split the void in half. An alien battleship vanished in an instant, consumed in fire. The explosion spread like a sun being born. The second shot came faster. A destroyer, then a cruiser, each erased in silence. The drones swarmed forward, moving with impossible speed. Their weapons cut through shields like paper, through armor like cloth. The fleet was burning. The counselors watched in horror. Ships that had stood for centuries, symbols of alien pride, crumbled in minutes. The humans did not rush, did not roar. Their attack was calm, precise, unstoppable, like predators feeding. "This is not war," one alien whispered. "This is slaughter." The human soldiers stood in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the council. They were not here to celebrate, not here to gloat. They were here to deliver truth. And the truth was merciless. One by one, the alien ships vanished into fire. Some tried to surrender, sending desperate signals. The humans ignored them. The test was already over. The council leader's voice shook as he spoke. "We called for peace, and we brought death upon ourselves." The human commander lowered his weapon slightly, his voice filling the chamber once more. "You wished to see us. Now you know." The last alien battleship burned in the void. Silence returned, heavier than before. The steel monster drifted through the wreckage, its lights glowing faintly, its drones circling like vultures over a dead battlefield. The humans had made their point. They had shown the galaxy what a death world creates. They had shown them the strength born of storms, fire, and endless struggle. The commander's final words carried across the council, a sentence that would haunt every star for generations. The galaxy asked for first contact. You received a death world's answer. The transmission ended. The humans vanished into silence once more, their ship turning slowly, preparing to leave, or perhaps to march on another world. No one knew. The counselors sat in silence, their hearts broken, their future uncertain. Some whispered of surrender. Others spoke of rebellion. But all knew one truth: nothing would ever be the same. The humans had come. The humans had shown their strength. And this was only the beginning. For the last line of the commander echoed in their minds like thunder. And this was only our first messenger.